that, stay tuned to this live stream. Hi, I'm Galen Parker with the Round Two podcast here, starring Stephanie Nicole. We're not taking a break. We just didn't have a guest for this evening, and we thought it'd be nice to catch up. Something we've got a fire episode from Dr. Shanika Horn, Black Doctor BLK Doctor podcast. So that'll be dropping this week. We've got a little things coming in editing, but we wanted to kind of address some of the 5 questions that we keep getting from guests, other people who watch the show, just people who have been wanting to know. So these are 5 questions to ask entrepreneur. And if you are an entrepreneur, maybe there are 5 questions that you should be asking yourself, right? There's my trusty dusty mic. If you guys follow me on social media, you know that I always keep that mic on me. I always keep that thing on me. 5 questions that we have received, and we wanted to just address these because if you are looking to start your business, you're probably filled with so much anxiety, but so much excitement, more than anything else. When you start to have that idea and it starts to come to grass, it starts to formate, it just percolates in your brain. You start seeing it on paper because you should have written out a business plan. And then you go from that business plan to that execution phase. Pure chef's kiss. It's like making a nice roux. I just learned about roux, so I'm probably going to reference it quite a bit. It's when you add flour to something. But anyways, so top 5 questions to ask any entrepreneur. So the number one question, and these are not going to be in order. I know it would be great if I was like count down and get you guys really fired up. I just want to give you 5. You guys are business people. You understand the importance of business, the importance of the presentation of information that is in equal parts so that you can interpret it yourself. So one question: how did you come up with your business idea? Surprisingly, we get this question a lot, and that is not really something that we can answer easily because the way you come up with your business idea, sometimes it's going to come from a variation of sources, maybe personal experiences, something that you saw, maybe you saw a market trend, maybe you saw a great idea and you thought, I can make this just incrementally better. It just comes from your inspiration. It draws on your own passion. So let's, for instance, say you love shirts, but you are pretty witty and you think you're funny and you can come up with ideas. Well, maybe you make a shirt business, or maybe you put all those slogans on canvas bags. I mean, all of these ideas really can come out of nowhere. I mean, how many times has someone been like, man, I had a dream that I did this and I thought it was a great idea? Or sometimes you had a nightmare and you're like, man, I had a nightmare experience. I think I can improve on that and make it better. Some of those are the best ideas that you ever have. And so that's what we're considering, the top five questions that you have as an entrepreneur. And these are probably top 5 questions you should be answering yourself when you're thinking about, maybe I'm going to start a business. Maybe I'm going to do something like that. So that's what we just had to, where do you get your idea for your own business? And it's just going to be determined on kind of what you want to do, right? So maybe if you like to cook, you want to like do some baking goods. Maybe you want to, as we talked to Dylan Tone, Dylan Talks Tone, we interviewed him a couple weeks ago. His was about music, so his entire business is on YouTube, and it's about making guitar pickups. I mean, that's pretty out there, right? So what is your passion? Whatever your passion is, sir, whoever asked that question, that's how you come up with the business idea. So we're looking at just top 5 questions, and we're not talking about 5 questions in order. We're just talking about 5 questions in general, because as a business owner, it's going to be incumbent on you to be able to evaluate multiple information. You determine what's the most valuable, what's the most important thing. So I'm not going to say this was the most important. The second question that we often get a lot is, how much money should I invest and start your business? Well, brother or sister, that depends on the business. Like, if you have a business in which you are going to be, let's say, making car parts, remanufacturing carburetors, right? Well, then that probably has a lower or maybe a higher cost than someone who's just putting ideas on a piece of paper and then making stickers. Or someone who's starting a tattoo business, their business costs will probably be a lot higher than someone who has a lemonade stand, right? And so, your initial investment is going to vary widely just on the industry, your business model, how you're going to scale, how fast you want to scale. If you want to get really big, well, then you probably takes a lot of advertising, a lot of marketing. And there's a difference between marketing and advertising. And if you watch past episodes, we've talked a lot about that. But especially when business seasons get slower, that is the time where you need to invest in those things. And it's hard. It is so hard for every entrepreneur to even conceptualize, because they're like, man, I'm trying to cut costs everywhere I go. What do you mean I'm supposed to spend more money on advertising? If you can't spend money on advertisement, you got to spend time and energy on marketing. marketing is not necessarily free, although a lot of people say that marketing is going to cost you time and energy. You're going to have to use some of your creative energies to kind of apply to that. So that's something you definitely want to keep in mind. But every business probably comes with some minimal efforts. You're gonna have to bootstrap that a little bit. Maybe you start a GoFundMe for yourself. Maybe you tap into some secret family investors for your business. That is very common. So don't ever feel guilty where you had to tap into family money. A lot of people look at there's a lot of huge businessmen. Elon Musk, massive businessman. Guess what money he got? Guess where some money came from? Where he started? It came from family money. So right. So if they have to do it, why don't you? So feel free to knock on mommy and daddy and ask for a little bit of loan as you start your business. All right, so that's what we're talking about. Where does the money come from? Now, this is a question that I think it's very smart to ask. And recently we talked a little bit about pre-mortems, right? Business pre-mortems. You're familiar with post-mortems. We're talking about business pre-mortems. These are the things that you do. You look at the potential disaster and you think, all right, how can I address it? So it says, what were the biggest challenges you faced when starting your business? And so it's always, it's not always, but it always feels like it's money, right? Because you have all these ideas, and then you can't identify a bad idea until you try it. And that's going to cost money. So bad ideas cost money, good ideas cost money. And so that is some of the challenges that you have in the beginning. From what we've discussed with several of our guests in the past recent weeks that we've interviewed, it's the money. It's how to keep money flowing in so that you can have time to really think and be like, all right, what are some ideas that I can kind of facilitate and let those grow? So another challenge, I think, is sometimes people fail to understand the business side of their business. So you're thinking, all right, so all I do is deliver bowling balls to bowling alleys. And that's cool. That's great. But then it's like, all right, so what if you've got two customers? Man, that's a great problem to have. What if both those customers want deliveries at the exact same time? Right? So then do you negotiate with them different times? If you have to negotiate with different times, which business do you decide goes first and last? Is it the one who orders the highest volume? Is it the one who does the highest gross amount of sales in one singular sale? Do you hire a buddy of yours so that he can deliver so you can meet that order at the same time? If you hire a buddy, what is his expectations for payment? Is he an investor where he's like, hey man, when this thing takes off, then you pay me? Or he's like, hey man, I got a 9 to 5, I got to pay these bills right now. You got to pay me right now. So these are different challenges that I wrote down: navigating legal and regulatory hurdles depending on what it is. If you've ever tried to get a license to do anything, right? If you've got a restaurant, you got to get food inspectors coming through, you got builders, you got workman's comp, you got so many different things. Thank you for that. Different things that you got to think about when it is starting your business. So that's something to keep in mind, a really big one. All right, another one. What is your biggest accomplishment as an entrepreneur? And man, I wish Stephanie was here for this one, because every entrepreneur that you speak to, they're going to have a different answer. So just to kind of give you guys a recap, we're looking at just 5 of the questions that we kind of get. Hey, what's going on from Indonesia? Hey, Albi Hafiz. We're looking at 5 different questions that entrepreneurs have kind of dealt with, and we're just addressing them one at a time, the ones that we've gotten from interviewing so many different entrepreneurs over the past week. But it says, what is one of your biggest accomplishments as an entrepreneur? And for some people, I know for me personally, I think of entrepreneurship as kind of like art, like being a creative. And so when I put a business idea out there and to see it grow, or to see something that I was thinking about working on and seeing how it's been applied, I love that. So that's a big accomplishment of just being like, all right, so I thought of this, I set it in motion, and now look, it's having success and other people are enjoying it. And so one of these, I feel like this podcast is an entrepreneur, because this isn't free, this costs us something, but seeing people enjoying it, getting messages from people saying they've benefited from, or just like how ready a lot of guests have been like, yeah, I would love to kind of talk to you about that. I would love to be on your show and interview. What is your biggest failure as an entrepreneur? I don't know if there's ever really, that's a tough one. I don't know if there's ever really a failure as an entrepreneur. Every fail is just a learning experience. I tell people, when I started Ann Robin Music back here in Richmond, Virginia, back in 2002, I did not know anything about entrepreneurship. I knew I wanted to do it. I didn't know anything about business plans. I didn't know that you couldn't just keep adding money into something, even though there was never going to be a return on investment. So it ended up just costing more money than it should have, and I should have bailed sooner. So maybe that's the biggest failure. But at the same time, I can't say it's a failure because I enjoyed it so much. I am obsessed with music, and so naturally I really enjoyed doing that. So maybe it's not so much as a failure, but that was a great idea that came too soon in my evolution, and by the time I was able to probably make that dream a reality, it was probably just, I had too many other responsibilities and I had to move on from it. I wasn't as passionate about music as I'm still passionate, but I guess if I could tell you that 2002 Galen was way more passionate about music. So just looking at the top 5 things that entrepreneurs, and we just went down, we said, what's your biggest accomplishment? What's the biggest failure? And then here's a tough one. And I've heard this a lot. It says, how do you balance work and life? And I wish there was a magic pill. I wish there was something deep and magical that I could tell you that would make you be like, oh, that's how you do it. Because sometimes these things are going to overlap. So right now it's like 5:45. It's dark outside. This office building is empty. I should probably be somewhere eating a meal with some people. And I'm not, because I'm doing this. And it's because I love this so much. This is the thing that kind of gets me out of bed. This is the thing that's like the first thought in my brain a lot of times of like, what can I do? Who can I talk to? Who can I form a relationship with? So, hey, if you are in Richmond, Virginia, if you know anybody who has a business or anything like that, or if you're looking to move to Richmond, Virginia, I'm also the guy that you'd speak to. So, how do you balance work and life when you're an entrepreneur? If you come up with the right answer, I think a lot of it is just managing expectations. And that is the key to a lot of things that you guys are gonna have to do. Manage expectations for yourself and for others. And what I mean by that, so let's say if you got a family, you got kids, they know that mom or dad, they're trying to start a business. And so sometimes you say, hey, look, 3 times out of this week, I'm not going to be home, or, 3 times this week, I'm not going to do something, but here's the expectations. These other 2 times or these other important events, I'm definitely going to be there. I think that is probably where a lot of business or entrepreneurs fail, because they mess up their work-life balance because they have not worked on managing expectations of themselves and for others. And you've got to have some expectations for yourself. Really, realistically, it's like you cannot be an entrepreneur if you do not have, like, if you're in a family, your family has to be on board. All your spouse, significant other, kids, everyone's got to be on board for that business, because if they're not, then now you're trying to fight against something that you're going to lose something major. So I would recommend, it's better to fail your business than fail your family. So just keep that in mind. And I don't have any kids, so these are just my words. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you say, hey, forget the family. And then the last question. So we're looking at 5 questions, and they're not in any specific order, but 5 questions that we have received over the past 10 months or so of recording the Round 2 podcast starring Stephanie Nicole. We're interviewing entrepreneurs, business people who have just had these great ideas and then how they brought them to fruition, or these people who had great ideas and it failed miserably, because I want to know, well, what did you do after it failed? How did you regroup? What did you do to shake things off and kind of get back into it? And I hope you guys have been enjoying it. But the last question that I'm going to just cover right now, someone said, what does a typical day look like for you? This could be for any entrepreneur, but just for me personally, I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning. I then go for a 3-mile walk / jog, hop the shower, drive to the office. I'm generally in the office. I can be in the office from like 8 to 9 hours a day. Just in here, as you can, you guys see, like I got different like little whiteboards around here, the desk, there's the computers, there's everything, right? And so there's wine back there because, if you're an entrepreneur, you're probably going to drink a lot. I'm just kidding, guys. These are all jokes. So then I'm in the office. I try to eat something, healthy for lunch, but obviously it doesn't always happen. Shout out to Meza. I don't know if Meza is sponsoring anybody, but I would love a Meza sponsorship, because I eat probably 100 of your salads a year, Mediterranean meals. And then, I try to get to bed, surprisingly, between like 9:30 and 10. But between that time, I think I probably have 20 to 30 conversations with different people for different things, whether it's for this, whether it's for real estate investment, whether it's coaching agents. I mean, I am nonstop on the phone. I'm surprised I even have a voice at this point. By this time of the day, you would think I would not have a voice. I don't drink coffee, so I'm naturally caffeinated, which people really hate to hear for some reason. But a typical day, it can vary widely. It involves a mix of tasks, to-do lists, meetings. You got client interactions, team management, strategic planning, expectations creating, loss prevention. All of these things are what we kind of do in the hopes to try to like make things a little bit bigger and a little bit better for ourselves in the future. All of this, I told Stephanie the other day, I want to see us on a stadium talking to a massive entrepreneur and just being like, how did you do it? Why did you do it? When did you do it? Where did you do it? What made it? Because I believe that there are billions of great ideas out there that just do not get executed because people are just afraid. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to start, and it's not that they're afraid to fail. They don't know what to do after they fail. The Round Two podcast is basically like, this is what you do after you fail. The show is about the round two. Like after you get knocked down in round one, which is embarrassing, but it happens to all of us. What do you do? How do you get up? How do you regroup for the rest of the fight? And that's why the round two is so important. So thank you guys for kind of tuning in. I know that you guys could be anywhere with your friends and your family, but I'm glad you're here with us. But I'm going to cut it off there. So hopefully you guys got an idea of, what's important to you. I'll do this little pose so that we can have it for the thumbnail. So that you guys can get a grasp of, what is it like to be an entrepreneur? Those are 5 questions, and we're going to keep hitting these back and forth. I got multiple YouTube channels. I've been told we need to be going live, and we are about to do it. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Really hope if you got any questions, feel free to DM me. Hit it in the comments, Galen@centralvarealty.com. Obviously, you can Google me. I'm one of the most Googleable persons on the face of the planet. All right, guys, take care of yourself and each other. Tomorrow we got an election day, so there's probably going to be a lot of anxiety. So just manage your comments well. Maybe take a break from social media tomorrow.